Hi there, and welcome to the third episode of WEDucation. My name is Donna Kim, and I am the owner of The Perfect Details. And today on the podcast, I have my first guest. And Patrick Lally of South Shore Entertainment is joining me, and I spoke to him earlier today via phone. So I hope the audio quality is clear enough for you to hear, and I hope it's good enough. But Patrick is what we would call a friender. He's a combination friend and vendor to me, and I have a long relationship with him. I think he's one of the best DJs in the Boston area, in the New England area, and I am going to provide a link on my page, and I will also give a link at the end of this podcast if you're interested in inquiring about his services. He's a full-service DJ. He does DJ services, he does uplighting, he does photo booth, and he's just a great guy. He's professional, he's kind, and he's one of the most high energy people that I know. So I hope you sit back and enjoy this interview with Patrick Lally.
Joining me today for my podcast episode this week is wedding DJ and owner of South Shore Entertainment, Patrick Lally. Patrick has an extensive background not only in music but also in video production. He has been working with events all over New England since a young age, and his team handles well over 200 events per year. So I love his company tagline. We specialize in one thing, fun, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget about, is that you need to have fun with the planning. And Patrick was referred to me by a wedding coordinator at a Boston hotel, and when I met him, I instantly liked him and have had the honor of working with him on a lot of weddings. So I think during wedding season, if you're lucky to see some familiar faces, and I always knew when I had Patrick at a wedding, there was like some relief on my part. I always knew he'd be there early, that he'd have a smile, and that he'd have his act together. And when you're a wedding planner and you're juggling a million balls, it's nice to have an ace in the hole. So welcome, Patrick. Thanks for joining me today.
Good morning, Donna. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So if there's one thing you haven't picked up right away from Pat's voice, is that he is from Boston and he has a distinctive accent. So, Patrick, tell me a little bit about where you grew up.
I grew up in Dedham, Massachusetts, and born and raised, and then bounced around a little bit, but I've been down on the South Shore for about 21 years now, hence the name South Shore Entertainment. So it's definitely become home for me.
And, you know, I don't know if I ever actually told you this, but a lot of my clients that were out of state, when they would hire you and meet you or talk to you for the first time, one of their responses back to me was always, I love his accent. Yeah. He's so Boston. He's going to add this extra flavor to our wedding. And I always thought that was so great because I never thought of that. So, yeah, I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, I don't think you did. I know I have a really strong Boston accent. I actually try to pronounce my R's, not my R's, when introducing couples, and I do try to mask it a little bit sometimes when I'm working.
Yeah. But so I know you don't just do DJing. Why don't you tell people a little bit more about all the other things that you offer besides DJ services?
Well, ironically, I got into uplighting after having worked at a gorgeous, gorgeous wedding with you that I'll never forget down at the Belmere in Newport. And
right.
I was just amazed at what the lighting did to the room. Even though it seems simplistic, you're strategically placing LED lights around the room just off of the wall to highlight the walls with some color. And
right.
I was just amazed. And I will never forget that wedding. And that was, I was, looking at the equipment, who makes this, how does it work, how is it operated, and I became obsessed with it. And then that obsession grew for a couple of months, and I spent a tremendous amount of money on the uplighting equipment in the start. And I was literally probably only one of two DJs south of Boston for a couple of years that offered it, because it was very expensive.
That was new technology that was available because it was, I think, wireless right?
It was all wireless, yeah, and it was wireless handheld, remote control, and it was, nothing else could control the lighting. It had to be used by this single remote, so you were at the mercy of this manufacturer, and you had to pay those prices to get this wireless LED system. And obviously, because they're LED, there's no heat, so they don't
Oh,
warm
yeah.
up. And having a son who's involved in the theater, they use those par cans with the colored gels, and those have been around for forever. And those things heat up to 1,000,000 degrees. And I would never want to see a guest bump into one of those, or God forbid it's next to some draping or a table skirt. So it's just totally safe with the LED as far as no heat.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that at a wedding, that in the corner there was some sheer drapery that started smoking.
Oh, sure.
The can light.
Those par cans will heat up to 1,000,000 degrees. Yeah, those are scary, actually.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest advantages about that LED lighting. I know when I've worked with you with that, even the color choices that you can pick. I mean, you basically can just hit the remote and change the colors instantly. So that's a big plus in what you carry and what you offer service-wise for your clients as well.
Yeah, and it really took off, and a lot of people hire us just for lighting. So last Friday night, we had a package that was just for a lighting and a photo booth, and because they already had a band, so they weren't interested in a DJ.
Right.
So we go out with those separate services exclusively sometimes, which is nice.
Yeah. So you do also photo booths as well.
Yes, that I sort of. I was hesitant to get into it at first. I wasn't sure if it was for me. We pulled the plug on that and jumped in head first about 5 years ago. And now having, been in it and, seen what works, what doesn't, I had a PC-based system. It was very big. It was very private. It was an enclosure. It took a tremendous amount of time to set up. You needed a lot of room in your vehicle to transport this.
Right.
And so I've gotten away from that, and I have a new one, which is really, really fun and exciting, and it's more of a selfie station with an open air format, and it's all Mac-based, and I'm an Apple guy. I don't want anything unless it's made by Apple or Mac, because I know how it works, and I trust it, and it does work. And so this new one is basically a giant iPad within this system, and it has all kinds of fun features, and you can do photo strips, you can do GIFs and boomerangs, and you can send them directly to your phone. There's an online gallery, so while you're at the wedding, you can look at every picture that every single person took that night. So it's really, really, really cool. It's lightweight, sets up in minutes. I price that, accordingly, and I have a couple of young girls who work for me who assist the guests, and it's really been a great investment.
Oh, good. I mean, it sounds like I remember when the big clunky photo booths were in, but they take some time to get in. They can ruin a floor. So this sounds like a much better situation and system.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
one of my photo booth girls, Shay, she is probably about 110 pounds, and she can literally transport the whole thing to an event, set it up, break it down, and then bring it home. So my old photo booth, you needed two, giant football players to pick it up, transport it, and it was awful as far as that. So you live and learn, though. So it's I think there is something kind of cool and neat and unique about the big, huge, like you said, the boxy photo booths and things like that. There is something to that, and there's still a few companies out there that have them.
Sure.
And they remind you of the ones you would see at, like, the mall, when we were kids.
Right.
But, it's not for me.
Right. Well, I think this is the thing. I mean, everything seems to be switching over towards selfies and things. People want things immediately. So it sounds like this is a good, call for that kind of client, And speaking of all this technology, I think that's one of the things that I was curious about when I was preparing my questions was, what's the biggest change you think you've seen in technology? I mean, I know what I think of in my idea. Like, I think I remember you carrying tons of CDs and thousands of CDs, and then it became this laptop, right? So
basically, yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't even know where to put the time frame. I would say going back, obviously 20 years,
Right.
or 50, I would say 15 to 20 years ago, it was all CDs. And then gradually, and you had to have a big CD collection, but you had to have, a good CD collection. You don't,
Right.
Just because somebody says, I have 20,000 CDs, well, you can be a better DJ if you have only 1,000 CDs, but they're all good hits. You have to know what works on a dance floor, what works for the age groups. You have to have a little bit of something for everybody. The people who are in their 60s and 70s don't want to hear what the 25-year-olds want to hear. So you've got to have a little bit of everything, and you've got to know where it is. You've got to have a system where you could retrieve it, quickly. So those days are gone. I don't know if good or bad. Because now I think anybody with a laptop can say, hey, I'm a DJ. I'm just going to plug it in and play it. So I think there's some sort of, I don't know, the skill I think isn't there anymore, in a sense. But there's nothing better than just coming in with a mobile system, and you have a couple of computers. I always have an extra MacBook Pro with me at all times with my entire library. So if, God forbid, I had an issue, I'm ready to, switch computers instantly. But it's great. If the venue has Wi-Fi, which 95% of them do these days, if somebody hit you with a weird or strange request and by chance you didn't have it, you could download it, instantly. So I do enjoy that. I do enjoy the technology in where we're at today.
Do you think that people are taking advantage of that in a way and saying, oh, I don't have my whole list, I'll get it to the day of the wedding, and then they throw you with all these songs, and then luckily you have a bunch of them, but you might have to download some of them? And do you see this happening more?
That definitely does happen. There are definitely, and through no fault. Brides and grooms, obviously, leading up to the week of their wedding, it's a crazy time for them. And so there's no fault or blame there, and I totally understand. I try to stress that if they are going to send me a playlist, whether that's must plays or do not plays, I try to get it from them at least a week before. But I have had brides texting me the morning of the wedding, don't play this, play this, and that's totally okay, and that's what I'm here for, and this is my job. But I do like to have everything on paper in my folder for that event. I'm sort of, meticulous like that and methodical, and I want it all in my folder before I even get up that morning, so to speak.
Yeah, it's funny because I know there are a lot of planners that would walk around with their phones and have their schedules on their phones, and I always still wanted to have my clipboard. So, there's still something, even with all the technology, the one thing that still needed, to be firm was a paper schedule, because that way you could write on it immediately. I'd have it and it wouldn't disappear, or my phone wouldn't die. Like, I knew I'd always have the paper, right? It's so interesting.
I read a book 20 years ago about things you never do at a wedding, and there were a lot of you never chew gum if you're working at the event. You never look at your phone, and you never look at your watch, because it looks like you're wondering what time the event ends. So, and I've never forgotten that. So, like, picking up my phone is not really something I like to do. So I totally agree with what you said. I want everything on a piece of paper, like literally my little clipboard with my pen, because I'm going to be changing some notes. And right before you do introductions, the bride might say, we're not going to introduce the kids, or we're going to bring the kids out with the best man. So you've got to make a note quick, and I don't want to type that into an iPad or anything. I just want to jot it down on my clipboard.
Yeah, same with me. So now, I know when I tell people, that I'm a wedding planner, I always get what's the craziest story of something that happened? So now I need to ask you, because I don't think I've ever asked you this question of, like, do you have a question, like when people say, tell me a story about being wedding DJ that's really, like, off the wall. Do you have anything you want to share? That you can legally share?
I have seen everything. So I shouldn't say that, because something will happen down the road, and I'll say, see, I shouldn't have said that. I've seen a lot of things. I'm up around about 1,000 weddings, and since I started my business. So I did the numbers several years ago, and I was just shy of 700.
Wow.
So I'm coming up. I'm near 1,000 for weddings. I've seen, the greatest things in the world, two people in love, and it's the most perfect event, and it's the greatest night ever, and you don't want it to end. And then I've seen, I've seen some things. I've seen some medical emergencies.
Oh.
I've seen a couple of fist fights over the years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when you're around people, when you're around a big group of people, and they're all drinking, you can see see something. You never know. I mean, I've seen power outages.
Right.
No power, no music.
So there was a wedding that we had to do. We were supposed to do together, but I had another wedding in another venue. So you were working with one of my assistants, and I remember getting texts. I was up in the mountains, so I couldn't get clear reception, and I was getting texts that the police had been called, and this had happened, and that happened. And I remember later on you called me and told me about this fight that had happened between the father of the bride and the best man, and we still talk about that story because I'm friends with that family, and that still comes up as one of those wow stories for sure.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate, and thankfully, like, that was extinguished pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. It's just human nature, and things happen, and like the old expression, there's one in every crowd, and you just never know when something could flare up.
I know we could probably just have a podcast on crazy wedding stories.
We could. We definitely could. Yeah.
But we'd have to basically do it in another country and wear disguises.
Yeah, there's a couple of local stories that I'm not even going to tell out loud.
I know. I'm totally there with you.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I didn't really realize, I don't know why, but when I started in the wedding planning business, I didn't realize also that the DJ could help with wedding ceremony music if the ceremony was on site.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Is that something you're seeing like more of a trend, or has it always been like kind of the same thing that, like percentage-wise?
So I would say that is one of the biggest changes in the wedding industry over the last 15 years. 15 years ago, I would probably provide ceremony music as well as a microphone for maybe 10 to 15% of my weddings. And now I am doing that for about 80 to 85%.
Wow. Okay.
I have two weddings this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and I'm not providing the ceremony music for it. And these are like the first two in the past 2 months.
Wow.
That I haven't done the ceremony music for. So it's changed dramatically. People have moved away from the church, good or bad. They have. But both weddings this weekend, they're both getting married at a church beforehand. And a lot of your venues have now accommodated ceremony areas.
Right.
So and created these beautiful ceremony areas. So both of my weddings are at one of the best places in the Boston area, Pine Hills in Plymouth, this weekend. And the grounds are gorgeous, but it is New England, and you're at the mercy of the weather.
Right.
So they would have to rent a tent a day or two before if the weather looked, like we were going to get some rain. So Pine Hills got proactive last year, and they built the most beautiful tent you have ever seen outside. It has draping inside. It has beautiful lighting. It has sides in case it's windy. They can leave them open if it's nice. It's a beautiful large tile patio for a floor, so you're not walking through wet grass. They have an area for the DJ to set up inside the tent with power, so that you don't have any issues with a microphone signal because you're close enough now.
Right.
There are venues where you're very far away from the officiant, and if you have wind outside, your mic will cut in and out. And it's terrifying to be a DJ, and then because this is what they hired you to do, but you can't do anything about it because you're 50, 60, 70 feet away. You're just sort of at that limit where a microphone might cut out.
You're at the mercy of Mother Nature. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do, and a wind gust will play havoc with a wireless signal like that.
Right. Well, I think also I'm going to see if I can get Pine Hills and Apple to sponsor this podcast for us.
Yeah.
Because you talk really well for them. So, if someone's listening from there, wants to sponsor this podcast, just let me know. Drop me a line.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good to know, because when you have tents like that have all the built-in things, these are things that clients don't see and don't know behind the scenes. And it's hard to explain things to brides because they kind of start to glaze over and they don't hear you. So it's good that you just know this, you can take care of this, and that the venue has been proactive in that as well. So, those are big things that people need to think about when they're looking at places, especially in New England, I think.
They really are, and there's a lot of facets and things that are going on behind the scenes that, as a client, if you're not aware of that, that can be devastating.
Right.
There are venues that change staff frequently for
Right.
a variety of reasons, and whoever your coordinator was this week won't be your coordinator a month from now. In 3 months from now, it's going to be somebody else, and that can really scare a bride because when they meet with those function managers, they're booking the venue, but they're booking that person that they met
Right.
with, and they're expecting that person to hold their hand throughout the process. So those are other things I've watched in this industry that can be very scary for brides.
Yeah, there's a lot of the bait and switch. I saw it a lot in the beginning of my career because I didn't know any better, and then I started to get really wise to that. But I see that with photographers a lot, too. They'll meet with one photographer and then get somebody else. But I think that's what's unique about how you work, too, is that you're meeting the bride or the groom, and then you're also kind of with them through the entire process, and you're on the other end at the wedding. And so there's a consistency about that is really comforting, for a client as well.
And you want to build a connection, and you want to actually really get to know the couple, because no two receptions are the same, and you can't approach it with a cookie-cutter approach like, okay, I'm going to play this song, I'm going to play this song, and then I'm going to play this song because that worked last week. And that's not how it works at all.
Right, exactly. So, okay, so I have a few kind of like fun questions here to ask you, and I kind of want you to give me your answers quickly. Like, don't try to think about them too much.
Sure.
So,
okay.
So what is the top requested song that people ask for at weddings?
Very popular song right now, even though it's been around for a couple of years, is Justin Timberlake, Can't Help This Feeling. That is still on everyone's must-play list, and a lot of brides and grooms actually get introduced to it. I would say that's a real popular one as far as new ones go.
Okay.
Newer ones.
All right, and what's the top do-not-play song that you see, like, consistently on your list?
Usually it's general. It's line dances. I would say people just right off the bat say, we don't want to hear any line dances. They don't want to hear the electric slide or the wobble or the cha-cha slide.
Oh, unless you're at a Filipino wedding, and then that's like the only thing that they want on it.
Correct.
So.
Filipino weddings are very, very, very fun. They love to dance, and it's all they sort of like Greek weddings. They get in big circles, and they're a lot of fun. Fun.
Let's see. What are 3 apps that you can't live without? Do you have any?
3 apps that I can't live without. Text messaging, I guess. 3 apps.
I know. What a weird question, right?
I would say my calendar.
Okay.
My calendar, my email, and my texting. I would say those I'm accessing those 3 things 200 times a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what's the kind of music that you like to listen to? Like, if you're not doing a wedding or you're not thinking about a client, like what do you listen to around the house?
I truly I'm sort of weird. I listen to everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. I might have on Frank Sinatra or Bobby Darin, and 2 minutes later I have on Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin, and then I literally have on like Ice Cube and high energy, electronic music like EDM music. 20 minutes later, I'm a strange bird. I love everything, and I love country. I'm a huge country guy.
Right.
I get into country moods where I listen to country all day long. But if I go out for a walk, I listen to really high energy dance music or classic rock.
Interesting.
It's my go-to. Yeah. I'm all over the place.
Well, I mean, but I think that's what's perfect about you, and that's why you're so good, because you have such a musical library in your head because you listen to all these things, and that you can just pull them out. And I think I always, when I think of you, I always think of you high energy. I've never seen you where you've been tired, even at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's high energy, and I'm always like, how does he do that? Must be a lot of coffee. Is there a
lot of coffee. I'm sipping my coffee right now.
Right, there you go. Well, I'm going to put a link up on the podcast page to your website so that if anyone wants to reach you, they can do that. But you can also find Patrick at southshoreentertainment.com. And Patrick, thanks for joining us today on my podcast, on my 3rd episode. I hope this comes out well, and I hope people can get through all our laughing.
Donna, thank you so much, and this was such a treat and such a pleasure as always to chat with you.
All right, thanks, Patrick.
All righty, take care.
Well, that was my first interview with Patrick Lally of South Shore Entertainment. And you can find his website at southshoreentertainment.com. I think if there's something that I want you to take away from my interview with Patrick, it's that professional wedding DJs are worth it. If you didn't hear his enthusiasm and his excitement about what he does and how much he loves music, then I don't know what you were listening to. But, I still, after all these years, I find it so refreshing to work with a professional vendor that is exciting, that's enthusiastic, that's professional, that is using technology and embracing it and going with the trends and helping their clients have a great day. And that's what you want on your wedding. And the fact that he does more than just professional wedding DJ services, but also offers uplighting and offers the photo booth is just another bonus. So if those are things that you're interested in, that you can bundle them together and not have to worry about contacting 3 people and only have to contact 1 person for your wedding. So I'm really thankful that Patrick took the time today to talk with me and share some of his insights about being a wedding DJ. And thanks for listening to my podcast, and I hope you have a great day. Bye for now.